The Crows move into the top four. All sorts of drama on the Gold Coast, and Carlton let another one slip. But Kane will begin the round so far. The showdown, the power, provided a scare late, but the Crows prevail in a pretty close one.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a showdown without a twist at the end. Looked as though the Crows were going to do it pretty comfortably all night. Port Adelaide came back late, but this was where the game was won. Adelaide kicked 10 goals from Port Adelaide's turnovers, and that was clearly the difference. You see that one there, just a poor mistake from Houston. Great finish from Sloan, but this was the case all night. You'll see the handball here, the kick from Boak, I should say, cough up, turnover, goal to Watkins here. So this was just the way the Crows set up behind the ball. Port Adelaide had no answers. They won the territory battle, and poor mistakes throughout the night cost Port Adelaide dearly.
And these were Port Adelaide's leaders as well. You see Boak involved there, Rockcliffe as well. These guys weren't the younger players that were brought in.
Yeah, and Stephen Motlop wouldn't want to take a look at the replay of that vision. That's not what Showdown's about, that effort from him there. You can understand a first-year player in Dersman gets caught. Himmelberg goes back and slots this one with a very, very clever goal. But just thought the coaching of Don Pike and the leadership of his defenders, we're going to talk about a couple of those in a minute, but very organised Adelaide tonight, and that was the difference in the game.
Tom Doedee came out of nowhere last year to replace Jake Lever. Doedee goes out of the side. They found another one in Alex Keith. His 20th game of league footy tonight, and he's a showdown medalist.
Yeah, he's been their best player all year, I reckon. He's the number one intercepting defender in the game. Once again tonight, 26 disposals. He had 14 contested, took 5 marks, and just really doesn't have a weakness. I also thought Daniel Talia, that man on screen, his best game for the year. He absolutely took Justin Westhoff to the cleaners tonight, to the point where Ken Hinkley had to move Westhoff to full back and on the wing at stages tonight, and Dougal Howard went forward. That there from Talia was the difference in the game. Westhoff was clear inside 50. He saved the goal there, but these two just enormous, and great reward for that man Alex Keith to win his first showdown medal.
Few were circling the Crows at the start of the year. They're top 4 now, 5 and 3. Incredibly, they hold the pick number 1 now because of what Carlton's done, and they're top 4, so Carlton have pick 15. That trade, as it sits right now, is a big tick for the Crows.
Yeah, absolute disaster for Carlton. We'll talk about them in a moment, but Adelaide have won their last 4. They've been really strong defensively, just conceding 57 points against in the last 5 weeks. So really built their game around the contest so that their contested work's improved, and been very miserly in defence. So they're sitting pretty nicely. They've still got to play Gold Coast again this year. They've got St Kilda again as well. So their draw is pretty comfortable from here. From here, you'd be disappointed if you're Don Pike if you don't make the top 4.
A few injuries for the power leading in. The Crows had a number as well, but they lost Ryan Burton in the opening minutes of the game. Last week he had his hamstring checked out, played out the game. Same injury again today.
It was a big loss for them, considering, the names that you can go through for Port Adelaide. We go through them. Wines, Jonas, Gray, Hartlett, Ebert,
Dixon.
all not there. Dixon's not there. It was a big absence tonight. And then this happens in the first 10 minutes of the game. Set for Eddie Betts, and then you can see it there, grabbing the hamstring in the first 10 minutes. Done for the night, and it does put you out of rotation. No, the Crows lost Matt Crouch a little bit later in the game, so that evened up. But Port Adelaide I'm not sure where to from here with the amount of injuries to key players they've got moving forward.
They have much else? Is there much else for them?
Yeah, not really. You can see tonight the lack of depth for them. They brought in Aidan Johnson, who had no influence. Kane Farrell, the same. Broadbent back, an experienced player. And Motlop had a poor night once again and has struggled. So the depth at Port Adelaide getting shown up right now.
To the Gold Coast today, you could have the Benny Hill music rolling for much of this game. There was errors right throughout, but incredibly, with 3 minutes to go, scores were level, and it was down to the wire.
Yeah, a couple of key moments here as well. Hunt was enormous in the last quarter, but this one here, I'm not sure how that's not paid him the holding the ball. Yes, he gets a kick to it eventually, but you've got to reward the tackler for a tackle like this. Once again, here, they cough it up, they turn it over.
They just needed to score. Sam Frost, and they had the chance, they bumbled around with it.
With 1 minute to go, they win a free kick here. Oscar McDonald caught holding the ball. They march it down, end up kicking a goal through Holman. Sensational finish. Love this with a minute to go. Daring play, bold. They only went inside 56 times in the last quarter, yet scored 4 goals, which has just shown up Melbourne's leaky defence all year. That's the goal there. Stop the clock, 51 seconds on it. And unbelievably, Melbourne score twice and win.
We thought Melbourne were dead and buried here. Max Gawn comes up big with a couple of massive plays in the final minute.
Love this from Hunt. Yeah, love this from Hunt. He's got to be composed here. So he just chooses the right option. Could have just whacked it onto the left boot. Chooses the option to Hoare, who finishes beautifully here. Then it's 18 seconds to go.
They can't lose from here.
Well, last year they can't, because you get all the numbers back. Now you can't do that now. Look at the big guns in the centre square. You've got Gawn, you've got Oliver, you've got Harms in there. Gawn does it again. He wins it. You win a one-on-one contest there. Hunt is huge. Harms, can't believe he didn't score from there. And then McDonald does just what he needs to do and gets it through with 1 second left on the clock. Demons win and keep their season alive.
How about these scenes after the game as well? They needed this win. If they hadn't gone to 2-6, it would have been curtains. But this is a massive 4 points for this footy club.
Oh, what about the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Just getting over the line to Hawthorn last week, and then that one there. Right now, they're an ordinary footy side. Make no mistake, they are an ordinary football team, but they've done enough to keep their season alive, and there's hope. I think they've just looking forward to who they've got. I think they go to West Coast Perth next week, and then it gets a bit tougher from there. So, yeah, it's a massive couple of weeks for them. Their season's alive, which is the good news, but not too many positives to take out of it.
Shoulder injury for Michael Hibberd, Melksham and Lewis both with ankle feet injury, so we'll see how they play out throughout the week. Now, the MCG today, Carlton, they were 11 points up with 20 minutes gone into the last quarter, and they cough it up again. The Pies piled on the last 5 goals at the G.
Well, we've spoken about Carlton's inability to win games of footy when they're in this position. Now, go through this year, 3 or 4 times this year they've been in a similar spot, and they haven't been able to do it. So what happens is, as a player, you second-guess yourself.
You're still up with 5 minutes to go.
Exactly right. You're unfamiliar being in front against a great opposition, Collingwood, at that stage of the game. You freeze, you allow Collingwood to go inside 50 25 times, I think it was, in the last quarter, which is just extraordinary, and kick the last 5 goals of the game. This team doesn't know how to win. I've said it before, they do not know how to win, and I'll say it again. I just think Brendan Bolton has built a habit around this club of close enough is good enough, and you hear the language coming out of it. That's all I've heard to start this year, that round 1 they concede the first 5 goals to Richmond. It's all about loving the players and all of that. That got the season off on a poor note. They've been in great positions. No doubt they've improved, and they were good today. So you've got to hand it to them. They were very, very good for the majority of the game and were good enough to win. But in the end, they've forgotten how to.
People were complaining about the umpires. I think this one might come back to have a look. This was the momentum shifter, but I don't think it overall had a big difference. This one might be a curious one.
When it's that big a discrepancy, so it was 28-7 or something like that, Mitch, it needs to be looked at. That is rare. That one there, I don't have an issue with. I'm all for letting the stronger player in the marking contest and letting it go. I can't see a touch there, so I'm not big on that one, but I think Carlton have a right to feel a bit aggrieved with the discrepancy in the free kicks, because for a tight contest as close as that, when it's that lopsided, doesn't sit that well with me.
But it shouldn't have impacted the result? You don't think
not when you, as you said, you're 11 points up at the 20-minute mark of the last quarter. You win from there. You absolutely win. Now, you don't concede the last 5 goals. That's not umpiring. So, yes, you can look into it and have a please explain, but it wasn't the difference in the game. All
right, to Ballarat now. And Aaron Norton was all the talk this week after his bag of 7 last week. A fascinating duel with Harris Andrews for the Lions. And Norton was held pretty quiet early, but prevailed, and the Dogs get the win. Yeah, just 3 disposals and a goal for Norton in the first half. It's always going to be difficult, Ballarat. Cold, wet, slippery conditions, so it's tough as a forward, particularly when you've got as much attention on you after that performance last week. But I loved about his game that he keep moving. This is just before half-time. Look at the movement there. Great kick coming in. He goes back and slots that, gives himself some confidence. So when you're having a down day, to be able to still have a big influence, and you look at his numbers on the final siren, he's had 15 disposals, 9 score involvements, 3 goals. It's a very mature performance from a young player up against a very good opponent. How good is this going to be to watch in the next 5-6 years? Yeah, can't wait. We saw another one with Curnow and Darcy Moore as well at the MCG today. So, I think we miss one-on-one contest in modern AFL footy. It's great to see it every now and then. The Lions, they should have won today. Well, they had their chances, and now they're back to the pack at 5-3. We'll see how their season pans out from here. Now, it's at Marvel Stadium tonight. The Eagles, they're just ticking. They're 5-3. Not playing anywhere near the standard that won them the flag last year, but it's just quarters of footy that are getting it done for them. Yeah, it was the third quarter last week. It's the third quarter again tonight, and their key players, I mean, that's Oscar Allen there kicking a goal in the third quarter, but their key players, when the game has been up for grabs, have stood up in the last couple of weeks. It was the same again. You see Kennedy in a moment. He kicked 2 late third quarter goals in about the space of 30 seconds. Ryan had plenty of opportunities, kicked 1 goal for. You see Petrocelli there as well, but they're just doing enough. I've got not one concern about the Eagles, not one. I think if they're still playing this type of footy after the bye and into rounds 13, 14, yes, there's a concern, but right now their focus is just to get going, get their good players back into good form, win enough games to give themselves the home final, which they'll do, 5-3, and a lot of games to play at Optus Stadium. So I think Adam Simpson will sleep pretty well tonight. 1 quarter they're playing at the moment. It's just about enough to beat Melbourne next week, you think? Pretty much, yeah. You would think the way Melbourne are playing, they don't stand a chance going to Perth and winning next week. All right, the Eagles, they were almost late to the game today somehow. Mel Horsey, This played out on social media throughout the afternoon. Can't believe this.
Yeah, not exactly ideal preparation. 5 Eagles boys got stuck in a lift at their hotel earlier today. It was Andrew Gaff, Elliot Yeo, Liam Ryan, Jack Darling and Oscar Allen. Have a look at this, boys. They were trapped in the lift, few Insta stories, not too impressed. But what I like is that someone was smart enough to have a deck of cards on them, so they were in there playing cards for a while.
Absolute worst nightmare doing that. Claustrophobic, could not think of anything worse, but handled it well and didn't affect their performance, which is the good news.
It didn't at all. They were way too good for the Saints today, and one man that wasn't out there for the Saints was Dan Hanbury, but he still managed to make a young fan's day today. Have a look at this. The Saints shared this one on Twitter. So basically, a young mum, she got in touch with the Saints because she got the location of Auskick wrong today. We've all done things like that. She had a devastated 5-year-old son. She didn't know what to do. Now, where they'd shown up, turns out there was a group of Saints players there actually training this morning, the rehab group. Dan Hanbury wandered over, asked what they were up to. The mum and son had no idea who they were, told the story. Dan Hanbury ends up inviting him over for a kick, saves the day, and the 5-year-old who was a Tigers supporter, well, boys, he's definitely a very happy Saints supporter now. How good's that? I love when we have stories like this.
That's the power of social media. Now, over in the West, the Tigers, they're over there for their game with Fremantle tomorrow. Big name on the park.
Absolutely. How about this? A very familiar face. Ben Cousins, he was spotted at watching on at Tigers training today. Snapped having a little bit of a chat with his former teammate Dustin Martin. A few pretty impressive games between these two. So always good to see former teammates catching up. And as I said, 2 champions in that photo, no doubt. Hey guys, last night in the Essendon game, minds were blown on social media as we learnt that Orazio Fantasia is Orazio Fantasia. Now, if anyone's getting a bit confused of how to remember it, well, I loved this one from Rick Lyon. Orazio Fantasia. How good's that, Kane? I love it.
Very, very good. It did take some adjusting last night, listening to it, but if that's what he wants to be called, that's what he gets called.
I love it.
Basil might have brainwashed us for the rest of the season after that one. Now, to the game on Friday night, a few big moments. The Bombers had their chances and it could quite well have won, but these ones caught our eye.
I think they should feel a little bit hard done by the Bombers. Not sure how that is not a throw against Isaac Kane. Have another look at this in a bit slow motion. This first quarter that led to a Sydney goal. How the umpires missed that. He's thrown it up and hit it with one hand. That's a throw. That cost them a goal. So there's one. Second one here. Now, the umpires will say to the letter of the law,
What's
this is
Stringer
the
doing,
right
though?
call. Undisciplined from Stringer. He's holding the ball. He drops it. So, yep, that's fair enough. That is holding the ball. But I can't stand this rule. Cannot stand the fact that we have a player win the ball in the back pocket and then take it down the other end through a 100-metre penalty against Smith, and that costs you a goal. Can't have it. It's a shocking look. It's a farce. I said it's going to cost someone big in a big game, and it has.
Devon Smith needs to be smarter.
Well, I don't know. It's a terrible rule. How you can penalise someone 100 metres. And then this one, the umpire comes running in. You'll see him just to the bottom left of your screen here. The umpire sees it, comes running in, tells Rampy to get off the post. It's a free kick. It's an absolute free kick. It is written there plain as day in the rule book. That's a free kick. The Bombers players knew it. The umpiring department didn't. And surprise, surprise, they've ticked it off again.
They ticked off today. Gillon McLaughlin said it was practical umpiring. By the letter of the law, do you believe that's a free kick?
It's absolutely a free kick. You can't shake the goalpost. He's jumped up on the goalpost. The goalpost is shaken.
Yeah.
It's a free kick. And once again, what's he thinking? You imagine John Lamar if that cost him the game. But yeah, it was a poor night from the umpires. I still thought it was an excellent game of footy. But there's some massive question marks for Essendon as well. So they shouldn't be using that as an excuse because their performance this year, they're an absolute tease. They don't want for anything on their list. They got high draft picks, they got new recruits, they went and got Sard and Smith and players like that. They got Stringer in, they got Dylan Shield, and they're producing similar to what they produced last year. So extremely disappointing side of Essendon.
That incident where we saw Dane Rampy jump onto the post. David Myers did have a shot with 65 metres out to win the game for the Bombers. What do we take out of this? He's winking as he's lining up to goal and then shares a laugh with Dyson Heppel as he misses.
It's a strange one, yeah. Well, it's a strange way to deal with the pressure. Perhaps that's his way. I don't have as much of an issue as the next clip we're going to see with Heppel and Myers, because if you get the still shot, it looks shocking and it looks like they don't care. But if you watch the vision like we are here, it's a very brief smile and they move on pretty quickly. So some players deal with disappointment differently, and I know the Bombers fans are questioning that, but I don't have too big an issue with it.
All right, to the rest of the round now. Geelong take on North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. Joel Selwood named an emergency. I think Ablett still in some chance to miss through being rested, and Dangerfield to face a fitness test on his knee.
And the big one, we'll see how the Hawks respond without their former skipper Jared Ruffhead up against the red-hot Giants. And then Fremantle should take care of Richmond with a couple of big outs again, Mitch.
A couple of big ins for the Tigers as well, Asprey and Garthwaite, to shore up that defence. Now back to the MCG today for our one more thing. I've never seen the movie Bird Box.
Neither have I.
But this caught our eye. How about this? Before the game, the Pies had to contend with a bird in their box.
There's a couple of things I don't like. I don't like small spaces, confined spaces, and getting stuck in lifts. And I hate birds. So how am I going tonight? Thanks for showing that, but that's my worst nightmare.
How would you have gone?
Times two. No, I would have run.
Blindfold on?
Ran, gone.
All right.
Out.
Let's see what happens next week. Thanks for that, Kane. Thanks, Mel Horsey. We'll see you same time, same place, right here on the Round So Far next week.